This massive construction is lock number 1 in Lockington, Ohio. I'm Darren, and this is the Industrial Revolution. In 1937, David Mellinger knew the route of the Miami and Erie Canal was going to come through here. And because he knew it was coming through, because he knew there were going to be 6 locks built here, and because he knew it was going to take hours and hours to get canal boats through these locks, he built the town that is today Lockington, Ohio. This is lock number 1. It's a pretty massive lock. You can hear the echoes around this huge empty stone lock. And when this was in operation, at the low point of the lock, I'd be standing in water up to about here. At the high point of the lock, it was 4 feet above that shelf up there. This lock probably had about 15, 16 feet of water in it. Let's take a better look at the rest of the locks here and talk about the locks and about Lockington. So this town didn't actually exist before the canal was built. Nearby Laramie Creek, there was a sawmill and grist mill, but nothing at all in what became of the town of Lockington, Ohio. Mellinger acquired the land here specifically to create a boomtown. It was originally called Locksport, but later had to be renamed to Lockington since 2 other towns in Ohio were also creatively named Locksport. The town began with a fairly ramshackle collection of huts and log houses, mostly built to house the canal laborers, but that didn't last. By 1845, when the canal fully opened, Mellinger's dream of a boomtown was fulfilled. At its peak, around 1860, before the railroad started to seriously chip away at canal business here, there were reportedly scores of boats every day traveling up and down through Lockington. And with a chain of 6 locks and an aqueduct, all only accommodating a single boat in a single direction at a time, transiting through Lockington could take 5 to 6 hours. Spending so long here, passengers and boat crews wanted something to do, so Lockington, as Mellinger had hoped, developed businesses to cater to all their desires, with at least 6 different saloons and at least 1 brothel. Today, at interstate highway exits, you can pretty much count on gas stations and fast food restaurants. Back then, at long flights of canal locks, you pretty much got saloons and brothels. Before we get too far into the locks, though, let's actually take a look at the aqueduct. Between lock 5 and 6 is Laramie Creek, and somehow the canal had to get over the top of it. Aqueducts were a fact of life on canals, with rivers and streams not only providing great water sources, but also providing serious challenges. This photo, unfortunately, is undated. I guessed at first that it was actually a construction photo, but check out all the water flowing out the bottom of the trough on the left side here, in the center of the stone wing wall. That's not something you'd normally have during construction, or ever really. Then I noticed the pier over on the right side. Look at that angle. I'm guessing they didn't build on solid enough ground, and the pier shifted, maybe during a minor flood, and it damaged the aqueduct. Anyway, it appears they did repair it, although you can still see the odd angle on the stone pier, and they seem to add a bunch of timber supports to make up for the insufficiently solid foundation here. Today, the wing walls located at both ends of the aqueduct are still in surprisingly good shape, despite being abandoned for more than a century. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of the 3 stone piers that once provided support to the aqueduct. The northern one, which was sitting on dry ground when I filmed this, is in the best shape and still easily recognizable. The central pier is in pretty rough shape, but you can still make out the base has some dressed stone on it. The one at the far southern end, if you didn't know that was a pier based on its location, you'd probably miss it. If you know any more about this aqueduct or these photos, please let me know in the comments. While a lot of historic locks were destroyed to make room for other things, a lot of aqueducts, especially the wooden ones common in many US canals, and apparently this one, simply collapsed. Let's take the very short walk north to lock number 5. Of the 5 locks preserved in town here, lock number 5 is definitely in the worst condition. You can see, especially on the east side, that there's been a lot of settling. This has caused the walls to slowly lean inward. Without the bracing here, they would probably have completely collapsed by now. There's always a lot of pressure on the outside of lock walls trying to collapse the walls inward. While they're in use, being filled with water actually provides some back pressure to help hold up the walls. But now that they're completely empty, that pressure is gone. Even when they were new, this pressure was a problem for canal locks. The wooden canal locks on Michigan's Clinton and Kalamazoo Canal actually squeezed inward so much that when they first tried to run the first canal boat through it, it wouldn't actually fit. They had to tear out the locks and rebuild them completely. Heading north, lock number 4 is in fairly good shape. There's a couple things to notice here. Something of interest here are these heavy iron staples. There's quite a few of them here in Lockington, but they aren't original, or there'd have actually been a lot more of them. These are just U-shaped pieces of wrought iron. You drill holes into the stones and drive these in, and it holds the stones together. With the shifting of the ground that caused the problem down at the aqueduct, these could have been put in at just about any time in the life of the canal if they'd started to see the walls shifting. They also probably added some in the early 1900s when Ohio made a major effort to revitalize their canals, just as the Erie Canal had successfully done in New York at that time. Take a look at the downstream side of the lock pockets on the left. Usually, I'm used to seeing lock pockets that are cut out pretty much square, but here they cut curves into the stone for the pockets. Makes sense, especially if they also carved the gates that way. The downstream side of the lock gate was where it hinged, using big iron straps top and bottom, so the lock gate would actually just fit better this way. Moving up to lock 3, things start to look a little bit more scary. It's hard to really show just how massive these things are. Each of these limestone blocks can weigh as much as 5,000 pounds, or about 2270 kilograms. I've been around quite a few 19th century locks, and these just seem somehow bigger. Check out how much that left wall is leaning into the lock. The right one's leaning too, but that left one, that's intimidating. The whole end of this lock appears to be very slowly shifting, slowly separating from the rest of the lock. I wonder if it's just something about the ground they built on here. With the walls here shifting, with the aqueduct pier leaning over, maybe the ground just wasn't quite as solid as the builders originally expected it to be. As we move up to lock 2, which is really in pretty good shape, check out the structure over to the left. That's the Overflow dam, And every lock, pretty much everywhere, had one in some form or other. Let's go up on top and take a closer look. So I'm standing here in the Overflow dam on lock number 2 here on the southbound leg of the Miami Erie Canal. And the overflow dams and a lot of locks, a lot of canals aren't really preserved very well. And they were an important part of the canal infrastructure though. And of the 5 locks that are still here, this one appears to be the best preserved overflow dam. And there's something here really interesting I want to show you. So if you look up there, that's the top of the lock height. So that's the top of the stone for the lock. If you look right here, this is the top of the normal overflow. So that's pretty much water level. Water behind it would come over, overflow, and go down into the basin below. And that would provide water, and it'd keep going down, lock after lock, really until you hit the Ohio River from here. And because this is the top of the canal, you ended up putting a decent amount of extra water in here because these canals leak pretty bad. But if this is the overflow dam, what am I standing in? Well, you had to be able to drain the canal as well. So if you take a look here, you have this channel. It's a fairly deep channel, you can see. The channel is so you can drop planks. These were probably wooden planks down in here. Those planks would then build up effectively a dam in here. And you have it on both sides. And as long as you had the planks in here, the water would stay at the level of this overflow and everything would work well on your canal. If you pull the planks out, that drains the upper part of the canal. And that allows you to do maintenance on the locks. It allows you to do all sorts of work. So draining this one would let you do maintenance on the canal upstream from here, on the lock upstream from here. If you want to do lock maintenance on lock number 2, you go down to lock number 3 and you pull out the boards down there and you get the same benefit. So these things aren't usually preserved very well, but when they are, it's definitely worth taking a look at. Moving on to lock 1, and you're probably wondering why lock 1 is in the middle of the canal. Well, if we kept going north, we'd actually find a second lock number 1. That's because we're at the top of the canal here. Just beyond lock number 1 here used to be a feeder canal from the Lewistown Reservoir, although it's now buried under the road. And locks around here, by tradition, were numbered from the top downhill in both directions, starting at lock number 1. Sometimes you see this labeled lock 1 south, but when they were in use, no one bothered with north or south part. Everyone just knew. On the floor, you can see a representation of the original wooden lock floors. When this lock was restored, they put in a concrete floor, stamped with a wood pattern, which should actually hold up a lot better than the wood would have. Unfortunately, the white oak lock gates weren't replaced, although with a 67-foot drop over the 6 locks here in Lockington, these gates would have been pretty huge. You can see them in this photo, along with the metal rods and levers which were used to open and close the metal wicket gates at the bottom of the main lock gates. These wicket gates controlled water flow to raise and lower the boats. This photo also does a really good job showing how the overflow channel on the right worked. This was connected like this between each set of locks via their overflow dams. In this photo, which was taken from lock number 1 looking down toward lock number 2, there's actually a large boat basin to the right, which even included a dry dock for canal boat repairs. To the left, there was also a mill race with a sawmill and a grist mill on it, as well as the lockmaster's home, which is still there today. Returning our attention back to Lock 1, if you were coming up this flight of locks 150 years ago, it'd be time to call your passengers back from the saloon, your crews back from the brothel, and get ready to continue on north toward Lake Erie. Summiting at Lockington meant you'd manage the long climb up here from the Ohio River in Cincinnati, and it's literally all downhill from here. So unfortunately, as was pretty common for the canals, as the railroad started to gain in popularity, the canal business tapered off. The canal here did remain in operation until the Great Flood of 1913, which destroyed so much of the canal infrastructure, not only on the Miami and Erie Canal here, but on really all the canals through the Midwest, that the canal shut down. But to be fair, the canal wasn't doing all that great before then, and there's even some talk that some of the main income for the Miami and Erie Canal was not coming at the time from canal traffic, so much as selling water to the adjacent railroads to fill their steam trains. And in 1913, the Great Flood happened, and it was all over. Despite that, a lot of infrastructure does remain. Here in Lockington, there were 6 locks, 5 on this side of the river, then an aqueduct, followed by a 6th lock on the other side of the river. 5 still remain in pretty good shape today. They're not flawless at this point, obviously, but at the same time, these are some of the best preserved 19th century canal locks I've seen in Ohio. So they're certainly not in bad shape either. And they're free to the public, and they're a part of the Industrial Revolution. Hey, wait just a second before you go. I need your help to keep the channel growing here. First thing you can do is really easy. Just like, subscribe, share this video. Tell all your friends about it. That spreads the word. YouTube will see that, and we'll show this to more people. Commenting more than just 2 or 3 words. YouTube says that's the most important thing you can get. It's the best kind of user interaction there is. So you can comment more than just 2 or 3 words. Also, if you're able to and are interested in helping out financially, these are pretty expensive videos to film, a lot of travel costs on top of the hours of work I do here. You can help out at patreon.com/industrialrevolution, or become a member here on YouTube, or a single contribution through Super Thanks. Also have an affiliate store. If you click that, anything you buy there, a percentage of that purchase will come to help fund the channel. Thanks for your help, and look forward to seeing you next week.